I don't know how long this one's gonna be, but I suppose sometimes shit happens for a fucking reason. And sometimes it happens way quicker than expected, but maybe, you work so hard to get to a certain destination. You didn't think you'd get here this quickly, but you've reached said destination. And I'm officially graduated school. I do have Leaving Cert exams coming up, which would be over like the span of like a week. But I am free. I'm free from that prison sentence, and I don't have to go anymore, and I don't have to see those people, and I will probably never see those people again after I finish my final exams, and obviously the people who actually matter, I will pop up to go see them. We will keep in contact. They will be able to ring me, they will be able to message me. But there's a lot of irrelevant people who were like monitoring spirits on my life, and who were saying stuff behind my back, and who were spreading rumors about me, but the reality is they're irrelevant. And I suppose I'm just recording this very short one to be like, I'm just happy that I'm freed from a lifestyle that made me very unhappy. And I am happy that as time goes on, I'm getting freed from people who don't have my best interests at heart. And I think I'm not a very spiritual person. I'm not necessarily a religious person either. But there's something so beautiful about having bad energy taken away from you. When you get to free yourself from people who don't have your best interests at heart, when you don't have to be around people who who are wishing bad on you, when you're surrounded by people who are so negative within themselves, they take it as inherent disrespect that you're happy and that you can be happy with the people around you. I feel like a big thing about when I left my mum's is I didn't have someone always wishing the worst of me. I didn't have someone always trying to manipulate me. I didn't always have someone who was just so hateful and so sad that they needed to ruin my very young self. Every time I had got a friend or I went out, or especially when it was my birthday or stuff like that, especially my birthdays, she'd always try to ruin my birthdays. Every single birthday I've had at that house, my childhood home, was traumatic. It was really fucking traumatic. Because she would do everything in her power to ruin my birthdays, because it was a day that did not revolve around her. It was a day where she wasn't the center of, everything. Because in that household, she tried being the center of my life and being the center of my sister's lives. And she might have succeeded in being the center of my sister's lives, but when I had turned around 12, 13ish, I had realized the levels of manipulation that were going on, and I'm not about that shit. I have the belief you can try to kill my spirit, but you will never kill my ability to want to be free. You might kill my mental health, you might kill a lot of my motivation, but no one will ever take the ability of me for wanting independence and freedom. That's such a core root of who I am. I don't need anyone. I am getting better at relying on people if I do need it, but I will never be There are some people, right? I'm so attached to them, probably in an unhealthy way, but it feels like I need them to breathe. But I will never rely on someone in the way where it's I need you for money or anything like that, because I will genuinely starve. I will cut off my limbs. I will do the most immoral, fucked up shit possible just to avoid needing to rely on someone in that way. Because every time I actually, fundamentally speaking, I rely on someone it always ends badly. So I've just given up on relying on people. I will take help, I will take assistance, and I'll take stuff like that. But when it comes to the fundamental thing of relying on someone, absolutely the fuck not. Every time. Sometimes I don't like speaking about some stuff that happened in my childhood because it was so fucked up. And the last therapy session I had admitted the only time my mum fed me is if I made her happy. And that was a brutal thing. It's a brutal thing to say out loud, right? And I had soup. I had these little soup containers, or whatever. Do you know those like microwavable soup containers? And if you'd made her happy, she'd invite you to fucking share the small microwavable soup container. You know? And it was normally me who shared it with her, because when I was a child, I did all this shit to make her happy, to suppose I was supposed to survive, right? And the thing is, I had given everything and more to this woman. I'd done everything for her, and she still fed me. She only fed me enough where I could live. I was still anorexic. You could still see my bones. You could definitely see my rib bones. You could definitely see my spine bones. And the first thing one of my friends had asked me from primary school when I had reconnected with them was your mum feeding you? I remember you used to change for pee and you used to be so skinny. You know, I basically was a slave to the woman, and she just gave me the bare minimum to survive. And the worst part is she wasn't even poor. You know, like, it's one thing if a kid gets starved out of fucking poverty, but she was just fucking starving me for control, really. I think it was the type of thing where it's like, if you're not fed correctly, like, your mind gets fucked. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced the levels of hunger I have, but your mind gets fucked up altogether. And then you add the abuse to it, and then you add the screams, and then you add the cries, and then you have all this other shit that's going on, the emotional manipulation, the fucking save the house. It's like mind control center, you know. I feel like some fucking scientists would have loved to do a fucking scientific study of that house. To be honest with you, how would the child's mind adapts to stress 101 or some shit like that, you know. But I won the mind games in the end. I did escape, you know, and I don't know how I did or why I did, but I want to help other people to make whatever fucking bullshit I've been through worth it, you know. And one of my best friend, he said, Nisha, you always, you know, even with the shitty decks you've been given in life, you always play your cards right. And in every single situation I end up in, I want to play my cards right. I want to make my previous self proud, and I want to make the people I care about proud. You know, people can say a lot of stuff about me, but how people treat me, honestly, it's really a reflection of themselves. Everyone who has an issue with me, I don't even think they have a genuine reason to have an issue with me. You know? Obviously, I have fucked up in some people's lives, and obviously I have been a dickhead, and obviously I have been a bit toxic, especially with all my core wounds and stuff like that. But the people who have genuine issues with me, I think that's really a reflection of them. You know, I can be a cunt to people. I can be a bit toxic sometimes. But if I actually do care about someone on a deep level, I love them with all my heart. I love them with all my being. You know? And what I've realized is sometimes I need to let people go because that's better for them. You know? And for the longest time, I've cut off people because it was better for me. But what I've learned to do is I need to learn how to cut off people if it's better for them. You know? And there's some people, if I'm not with them for long enough, it feels like I can't breathe. You know, and my best friend is one of those people because he's the only person I've ever opened up to. There's this 2-year period chapter of my life when COVID-19 was around that I don't like speaking about. And I don't know if I'll ever speak about to a lot of people. I think a lot of those memories will go to my grave. You know, and I don't know if I'll ever open up to anyone on the level that I've done to my best friend, but I know I'll get there. I know I'm healing. I know my trust issues are slowly leaving me. And oh my God, you can see my head reflection in the thing. But I'm very happy with the destination I've ended up with. And you know what? This is the first time in my whole life that I've ever felt peace. And I never thought I'd feel that.